welcome to our end of season review. This is the New York Talk, and we'll still go through the last season in as positive a way as possible and talk about how football can rip your heart out. We have everybody with us. Mick's with us. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
And Benjamin is with us as well.
Hello.
Before we get started, please do keep checking our website. We've got a few people doing some stuff for us, which we will announce as and when it comes out. But keep an eye on newyorktalk.co.uk for some end of season reviews and some players. What's the right word? Player review. Go on.
Profiles
coming up.
Hey.
Depending on when you listen to this, they may already be out. But keep an eye on our socials for where you can see that kind of stuff. And before we get properly started, something we want to talk about, which we all want to talk about. Over the weekend, you may have seen on social media, particularly Twitter, the Her Game 2 videos and hashtags that came out. And we want to throw our full support behind that campaign. It's similar to the race, but it's kicking sexy amount of football. I'm sure if you're on social media, you'll have seen some comments that whenever a woman or comments on football, they get some pretty nasty comments put back to them. Not all the time, but certainly sometimes. And we absolutely want to put our full support behind that campaign to football's for everybody. And I think it's a really, really important campaign. As much as the Taking the Knee has been a really good campaign over the summer for racial discrimination, this is also just an important campaign as well. You two want to add anything?
No, I'm just 100% behind it. 100% behind it. We've talked many times over the season about people's opinions and everything else. And you know, when I or somebody else on here criticizes somebody else for having an opinion, you know, they get very, very defensive. And yet, similar sorts of people are the ones that often actively take part in this sort of behaviour, and it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Everybody's opinion is justified, no matter who they are. But you know, some of them may be more stupid than others. Usually mine, I'll be honest. But yeah, I'm 110% behind this. Absolutely.
Ben, I know you're not the most articulate. But
yeah, I mean, everything. I can't believe it. You do see it all the time. Whether it's what I've noticed is whether it's purposeful or not. Sorry, that's my fault. Whether it's purposeful or not, it still happens. And I think it does need to be, what's the word? It needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm completely behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do, what I would recommend is go and watch the video that's from the Her Game 2 Twitter account, and take it from there. Well, nothing more we can add in terms of that. I would recommend anybody that hasn't, go and have a look. And please do support the campaign. So let's get on with our season review. Obviously, we know how it ended. We're back in League One, not ideal, but there were some highs and lows throughout the season. So we're going to start at the beginning, which seems like such a long time ago, and go through the game. We've got some stats to come through and our thoughts and memories of the games. I guess one of the strangest seasons in football history. It's certainly up there. It started back in September for the first time in a long, long time at the Wycombe game, Ben. First game of the season away at Wycombe. Icky with the last-minute winner. Everything were sort of bright and rosy, and everything, you know, we beat who was probably going to be our relegation rivals. We'd continued the trend from last season. It's a last-minute goal. Here we go. Things were going to move on. They were all positive, weren't it?
Wasn't it? I remember it being a very poor performance. Awful.
Going to win.
Describe the performance. Awful. I think it foreshadowed our season to come. Yeah.
You said you weren't very articulate.
Apologies.
I think it's summed up our season. You know, poor performance and goal off a set piece. I'm not saying that we scored off set pieces a lot, but when we did score, it weren't really from open play, especially towards the end. So I think it summed up the season. But yeah, 1-0. I mean, I'm not going to complain, to be honest. No, I didn't, because I got the prediction bang on, perfect to the score and the minute.
Well,
come on. late corner goal, Icky or Woody, or whatever I said.
I think it's Icky or Robertson.
Oh, did I? You don't get much more detailed than that.
I mean, to be fair, that game sort of your prediction, your season of predictions went pretty much like Rotherham's, didn't it? Downhill from there. So,
started well and then ended up with
started
nothing.
well and petered out, mate.
Yeah. We actually missed that goal, didn't we? We were watching it and the stream cut out on something like the 88th minute or whenever it were. And we couldn't get it back on, so we completely missed our first goal of the season, which was a shame.
I remember Icky scored twice. I think he scored twice, maybe all season. We missed them both because the other one, we were sat on half time when it was 55 minutes.
No, that was second game at season, wasn't it? That one against Millwall, when Icky made that giant mistake.
Oh, yeah, we went 1-0 down. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we assumed that I thought we could watch it through a Fire Stick, so we think if you go switch over to your normal telly, when you come back, it'll just resume where it were. No, it paused. When we went back, we were 10, 15 minutes behind and we missed the goal.
If they've got that 4:15 and go, oh, God. You
yeah. But that good bright start against Wycombe, Mick, it was quickly dashed. Millwall game, as was mentioned there. And then a pattern started to emerge because we considered a very late penalty against Birmingham where we drew Angus MacDonald, the very unlucky own goal against Huddersfield. And then we were 1-0 up against Norwich, having then missed a penalty. Angus MacDonald gets a silly red card, an own goal from, I think, Icky this time, and then a stupid late penalty from Flojo. Those first 5 or 6 games, we're going to say this a lot, but those 5 or 6 games encompassed our entire season.
Yeah, they did. I thought we were unlucky against Birmingham. I don't think it was a penalty. Like you said, the Huddersfield own goal. I mean, again, like you said, I think we are going to say this a lot, but that had kind of summed up our season. It could have gone anywhere, could have gone over the top of the stand, but it didn't, did it? You know what I mean? Yeah. And against Norwich, we should have been 2-0 up. We should have been 2-0 up. We should have been out of sight. With Freddie missing a penalty.
Should have had a lot of as well.
I did say Norwich, didn't I?
I thought it was Huddersfield. So apologies.
No, Norwich. We're on to Norwich now. But yeah, it did. Disappointing.
Yeah.
But what I would say is we didn't get our fair share of luck in those games, or to be fair, any other games this season.
When did we?
Be honest. Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, that Norwich one was a particularly sickener because up until Angus MacDonald's stupid red card, Ben, with Norwich, we were in control of the game. We were looking quite comfortable, and as soon as you go down to 10 men, if you go down to 10, get 10 men against Norwich, you might as well just give them the 3 points.
It's one of the stupidest tackles I've ever seen.
Stupid.
Yeah, but it weren't a great tackle.
No.
It weren't a great tackle, but well, all right, fair enough. I'm not saying he shouldn't have been sent off. What I'm saying is it was definitely a red card, no problem.
Yeah.
Right? But the similar challenges that were made on our players throughout the rest of the season weren't punished the same.
Yeah.
So should it? So the question is then, should he have been sent off?
Yes.
Right. Well.
Yeah, but so should everyone else.
So should everyone else. But you know what I mean? That's life. If life was fair, would be Premier League.
I'm not wearing that.
Life was fair being Premier League because we won the best well-known club, but it's not. I thought you were old enough to realise that, Mick.
For me. Woohoo! For me,
saying.
The Norwich players got McDonald sent off. They got that red card.
Yeah, they did.
Not the challenge. The challenge may or may not have got a red card. What absolutely nailed that red card on was a reaction of Norwich City players, which is what you expect from Norwich City. Let's be fair. Yeah. They've done it season after season when we've, the last few seasons that we've played them when we were in the Championship.
Under different managers as well.
Under different managers as well. So, yeah, some people say it's part of that game.
Yeah.
It's not part of the game. That's it was a red card. Listen, I don't care what had happened. That's a red card. If you didn't send him off, I'd have been very worried.
Well,
I've seen them tackles not given a red card. It was a red card, but I've also seen those not given. But yeah, those type of games is what's cost us survival. We'll come into more and more of those games throughout this next 40 minutes or so. The first big moment, Ben, of the season for me was the first South Yorkshire derby this season back in October, when a drone delayed play after 5 minutes. That drone was maybe the best thing that happened to us all season, because before the drone came out, we were really struggling in that game, weren't we?
We were awful. To be honest, yeah, I remember seeing the picture of who was it? Robertson playing the drone. Made me laugh. Yeah. Listen, I think it kind of sums up a season again, because we were poor. Like, we just, yeah. Looking back at it, it's so annoying. But I'm so glad that drone happened, because it was probably the best thing that happened to us all season.
Yeah, that 3-0 win. There's a couple more 3-0 wins, one in particular which come on to, but that 3-0 win, Mick, was 100% after the first 5 minutes. Completely deserved. Jamie Lindsay was outstanding. Their defence was an absolute joke. Flojo had a good game, which is not very often. It was a superb all-round performance, that Sheffield Wednesday first Sheffield Wednesday game.
Yeah, it was, and it's always nice to beat your local rivals, isn't it? So yeah, it was massively important. It was a big confidence boost for all of us, and I think we all felt at that point that we were going to be able to kick on. You know, we played Wickham, who were down there. We played Birmingham, who were down there. We played them, who were down there, and we felt that we were the better side amongst all of them by some distance. And to be fair, we were. You know, let's be honest. But that result kind of gave us that confidence, didn't it? And it's always nice to beat that shower as well, isn't it? You know, for those of us that work and live in Rotherham, you know, you can always go. You go to work the following day to see all those other people that work and live in Rotherham, but don't support Rotherham, and you can stick them one in the eye, and it's fantastic, and I love it. So, and obviously, I don't want to spoiler alert, but we went on to do it again later in the season.
Oh yeah, we'll come on to that one. It was the first home win against Sheffield Wednesday since 1976. We got a lot of monkeys off our back this season. That's certainly a positive from this season, Ben. A few more results to talk about, Ben, but I know those things don't technically matter. We talked about this towards the end of the season. In football, for some reason, those records do matter. The Derby win, the Middlesbrough win, the Wednesday win. It's good to get those type of records away. So next time we're playing, because as a player, it must affect you. If let's say you're Woody or something like that, and you get a pre-match question saying you've not beat Nottingham Forest at home since 1932, subconsciously that's going to play on your mind a little bit. So to get those off your back a little bit is a plus. I'm not saying it's game change, but it's a plus.
I think it comes down to the player. If I don't think it personally matters, because unless you were playing in that game, I don't think it really should affect you. But I know what you mean. You're stat man, aren't you, Matt? So I'll play into your thing. Yeah, it must have been good. We've got actually a few records on our side for next time we play them now.
Exactly.
Especially Wednesday. I can't remember last time we did double on them. When was it?
That's his, I think. 36 I think.
So that'll be good for when we next play them. You'll be loving them stats, won't you?
Absolutely. Why would we not?
Yeah, absolutely. Bang on.
Yeah. But again, this sums my solid season, Rick. We followed that Sheffield Wednesday game up with some really poor performances. The game after Sheffield Wednesday was Stoke City away, which was one of the worst games of the entire season. It was a terrible game of football. Stoke scored from a Route 1, typical old-fashioned Stoke game, and we were just sort of nowhere. And then that was the game where Sean McDonald broke his leg, which Sean McDonald had been up at that point, probably player of the season.
Yeah, he had been key to the way we'd been performing prior to that. I mean, that was an awful game, an absolute dog-awful game. And that was more down to the tactics that Stoke City employed, in my view, because we tried to play, and they just snuffed it out, didn't they? That probably, from an opposition point of view, and listen, obviously we all know that we only see 2 games a season of the opposition. You know what I mean? But that puts Stoke down in 23rd place for me in terms of quality of opposition. Yeah. They were just awful, and Millwall had been bad and beaten us. And I'm fully conscious of the fact here that I'm saying Millwall were bad, they beat us. I'm saying Stoke City were bad, they beat us. They're able and capable. Luton, who are absolute garbage. Clip that. we're able to still perform to that level and beat us. That's another indication as to probably where we've been going wrong this season. But yeah, that was an awful game, awful game.
Yeah. I might as well stop here, right? Because Matt, the last time I mentioned Sean McDonald, but Sean McDonald has obviously he's confirmed on his Instagram that he's leaving the club. The club, as we record, haven't released a retained list yet. It's a shame with Sean McDonald, Ben, because like I said, up until whenever that Stoke game were, it was really, really good this season. But he's been just consistently injured. I mean, last year it was illness, but this year he was injured at the wrong time and they just couldn't get back in. It's a shame because he has got something to offer, but you can't just keep having him on and not playing him.
No, I mean, it comes to the point, it's a line of diminishing returns, isn't it? If you can't keep himself fit, and that's not a dig. If you can't keep himself healthy, which is understandable because of his age and the way he plays, and not put having him around. I mean, I have no problem with the decision. Obviously, I'm a bit disappointed because I thought it'd been brilliant for League One, but it is what it is, isn't it? And like I said, he wouldn't play a month, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did, yeah.
I mean, that's what you need to know. For a central, defensive midfielder to win player of the month.
Yeah. And then we had home win Preston, which was a very, very good win. And then in end of November, Mick, I'll come to you for this part. It's when the referees have really started to. How do I say it without sounding like a victim? Show their skill levels. We start with the handball against Swansea in the 80-something minute, where their defender basically clears it off the line, or he tips it around the post. And then 4 days later, QPR, where Matt Al-Sunni gets cleaned out in the box and no penalties given. We hadn't really experienced a bad refereeing up until that point, Mick, but it started and it didn't stop.
Right, well, Matt Donoghue, I think, was the first one, weren't he, at Swansea? And I mean, we could go on, and I'm sure at some stage throughout the course of this podcast, I will go on and on. But let's not give these people any airtime; they don't deserve it.
Okay, I'm sure we'll talk about them again in a minute.
Yeah, I'm sure you're probably right. I'm trying.
Yeah. The QPR game was very important then in another way for me. Michael Smith's first goal of the season, a very good Michael Smith header. And he never looked back. I know he slowed towards the end of the season, but it's the best he's ever looked in Rotherham shirt this season. It started with that QPR game.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it started when he joined. I think the work he's put in, I think it was only a matter of time. I think it started last year when the season finished and he probably was still at training ground. He just needed that little click, And like I said, he's been so good this season. It's unreal. We lost that QPR game, didn't we?
Lost 3-2.
Yeah, we should have won that game. If we play that game and they don't have Samuel, we win that game by an absolute. If QPR don't have Samuel all season, I hate to say it, but they'd have gone down, in my opinion. But yeah, I said Smith was so good from that point onwards, and that kept us up if we did not made some. If we'd not had made as much defensive mistakes that we did, I think Smith would have kept us up this season. So
yeah, he did his best. To be fair, it is his very, very best. Around that time, we changed formations. 3-5-2 came in, and although I like 3-5-2, there was a period where it didn't work. Coventry game in particular, the Watford game as well. A few days later, but particularly the Coventry game, it didn't work to start with. And I know it takes time to get those things running. We sort of gave away 2 or 3 games because we wanted to put in a new system. I know it worked eventually.
Yeah.
But putting the Captain Hindsight hat on, it cost us a couple of games, didn't it?
It did, and to be honest, in my head, I don't remember seeing Coventry game. I've dismissed it. I've blocked it out of my memory. It was as poor a performance as I've seen from a Rotherham side in a long time. just devoid of any confidence on anything else. And I know I appreciate, obviously, we changed formations and everything else. So yeah, I mean, it got off to a rocky start, but it turned out to be the right decision in the end. Well, did it, because we went down, you know what I mean? But I don't think that particularly impacts the reason that we've gone down. I think we were far stronger defensively after we'd made that change than we were prior to it. And it suited the personnel that were available to him at the time as well. So yeah, I mean, it was. You're right. We did give away 2 or 3 games, and as it turned out at the end of the season, you can't afford to do that. But I think it was the right move, definitely.
And hopefully, Ben, it'll stand us in good stead for the future. You'd assume that we'll stick with 3-5-2 next year with Icky, Woody, and McDonald. Let's assume they stay, which you assume they will. Add a couple more defenders in there. 3-5-2 is perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect for Woody. I don't see why not. We've got the players. It's just it don't really fit into Chio's strengths or Sadler's strengths, which we spent a little bit of money on him. But it is what it is, isn't it? Wages wise, yeah. That's what I meant. And it'd be a real shame to see Chio go to waste. But he can play at 10 role. I mean, he showed that he could. So I think we'll stick with 3-5-2. You don't really have another option, I don't think.
No, 4-4-2 were too one-dimensional in League One last time for me. If a team sat back against us, we were in serious trouble. Whereas 3-5-2 gives you a bit more flexibility to play in 2 or 3 different ways within one system. So hopefully that'll be the way we go forward. I'm sure we'll hear from Warney in the summer about that at some point. We did start to turn it around. Very good win against Bristol City home. And then we had a very, 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 very unlucky loss at Blackburn Rovers, 2-1, Adam Armstrong with a 90-whatever minute goal. But there were signs, Ben. There were those 2 games in particular. I know we lost the Blackburn game, but there were massive signs in there that we were starting to turn a little bit of a corner.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember the Armstrong goal. I think it was just a good goal, really. I remember it being a nice tiki-taka move from what I remember of it.
It was harsh. It was so harsh.
It was last minute.
Yeah.
I remember it being a tiki-taka goal.
I don't think so, no. I haven't rewatched it. From what I remember, it just sort of a bounce around the box type thing.
Isn't it? They're the type of things where it's like it happens to the teams that are like us, like who are just good enough, who are good but just not good enough.
Quite.
You know what I mean? It just don't fall for us. He's good, but the look's not with you.
Yeah.
And it makes you not good enough. And that, how many times have I said this? But that happened all season. Like, if we had luck on our side, we'd have stayed up. So,
yeah. A lot of people don't like it, but you look at the XG, where we were 15th, maybe some higher than that. That tells you where our play was. Add a little bit of luck in there, which we didn't have. Add a little bit of composure in there, which we didn't have a lot of the time. We should have been safe this season. But there's no reasons.
Not even a debate. We should have been safe. There is not even a debate that we should have been safe. But it is what it is, isn't it?
Well, one of the reasons that we weren't safe is we're now going to talk about the first COVID outbreak at the club. An hour and a half before we were meant to play Derby, just before Christmas, we got the announcement that the game was going to be postponed. We'd started recording. I think we started recording or something, a pre-match we were going to do, weren't we? Yeah. We were in the studio recording it, and one of us just luckily checked his phone and realised the game were off. A lot of stuff said at the time, Mick, which there's no point talking about from other clubs. It weren't the only club. I think there was 3 or 4 clubs at the time that had suffered a similar sort of thing. It was quite a serious thing at the time, not just in the football around the country. But the key part to it is that we had to play that Barnsley game in between, which was one of the most bizarre games I've ever seen. And I've never watched a game and thought, you know what, this game shouldn't go ahead. I don't think I've ever thought that before. And it should not have gone ahead, that game. should it?
No, 100%. 100%. I mean, first of all, the EFL, in my view, decided that they were going to change the national lockdown guidelines, not lockdown, isolation guidelines from 10 to 9 days because they could, or because they felt that they could, and just completely flew in the face of all this utter nonsense that they spout about player welfare and everything else. We're not interested in that. We've got our money to make. We've got our schedules to keep. You will play. Is basically how they were. And also you've had a COVID outbreak, so it must be your fault. So we're going to punish you for that as well. But mainly we've got our schedule to keep, and that's the end of that, which was to go on to prove to be the downfall or to be a massive contributing factor to the end of our season. Because they did it again. So yeah, it should never have been played. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We all know that. Everybody knows that. Even the Barnsley supporters at the time were talking about it, that it shouldn't have been played. Yeah. We all knew. But of course, the EFL know better than anybody else, don't they?
But we almost picked up a point. This were Barnsley who were riding high, Ben. Yeah. Really riding high. And they're now getting ready for a playoff game. We pushed them all the way and nearly picked up a point against, from our point of view, a team who had no legs.
Yeah, we had. Smith didn't play, did he? I don't know. Smith
he came on and scored.
Oh, did he? I don't know. Crooks playing.
Crooks didn't play.
There were a few that looked off it.
Yeah.
I was so baffled at the time about that, how that game went ahead. And
it just felt wrong, didn't it?
And then I realised the governing body. So I wasn't that shocked. It is what it is, isn't it? I'm not even going to sit here and say how corrupt the footballing governing bodies are in the world, but it's a real problem.
Okay. But at the end of the saga, Mick ended up with the FA Cup game at Everton, which we lost in extra time. But I tell you now, that was one hell of a performance. Matt Alder-Sunday was his best performance in a Rotherham shirt.
Yeah, definitely a fantastic performance, and we came so close to getting something out of that game. But the only thing that we needed out of that game, well, we said it at the time. I think we both said it, or all said it at the time. What we need out of this game is a defeat, but a confidence-boosting performance, and that's precisely what we got. The only issue was it went into extra time, which was a bit more playing time. But nevertheless, like I said, the performance was brilliant, really, really good. And probably on another day we would have got something from the game. I'm glad we didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of the best performances of the season without a doubt.
And you can tell the confidence it gave us. Then for our next 6 games, we went on to win. We lost one of those 6 games, which was against Swansea, who were the best team we've probably played at New York. Crooks and Smith, it just started to click. Then everything were looking so good. It ended with the win at Preston. Everything was just looking rosy and sweet and comfortable almost.
It did until I thought it did the whole way until the last few months. To be honest with you, I thought that middle period was perfect.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
and like you said, that we played so well against Everton. And they had the first team out as well.
Strong team, yeah.
I think Calvert-Lewin were the only one that weren't playing. So it was such a good performance, and like you said, it helped so much. It's just so annoying that we went down. Yeah. What it is, isn't it?
It's when you see them glimpses of quality, but just not being able to put it together. For one reason or another, not being able to put it together for long enough. Saturday, Tuesday doesn't help us. We can't do it. We said this many times before. It don't fit into the style of play that we were trying to play.
No.
And all right, you could say that's we want to play that style of football. That's our problem. That's true. But we also need a little bit of help as well from the footballing gods, and we certainly didn't get that.
We didn't know. I think if this was a normal season with a sound governing body, a normal schedule and a sound, at least half decent governing body, would have stayed up.
Yeah,
fans in ground would stay up. I bet my whole everything I've got on it.
In that run though, Mick, there was 2 3-0 wins, 3-0 home win to Derby, which may have slightly flattered us, but it was still a 3-0 win. But the 3-0 win away at Middlesbrough was, we talked about the Everton game being a really good performance, but the Middlesbrough game was, we were just better than Middlesbrough at the time. We're very, very, very close to the playoffs. It was such a good performance.
Yeah, it was. And it was that period where you just felt like we've got it together now. Yeah, we're going to lose some games, but yeah, we're showing the quality that we have got. We're showing that we deserve to be in this division, and we did. And results and games and performances like that just make the end result even more frustrating.
Apologies to everybody. Ben's having a nightmare with a bottle of water, so apologies.
Oh yeah.
You all right, mate?
Yeah.
Good enough. But like I said, performances like that just make the end result of the season even more frustrating and disappointing, don't they?
But it's not getting the spells together. I mean, after that Preston game where Victor Hansen got stood on in the face by Ched Evans, we went the next 5 games. We scored 1 goal, losing all 5 games. Scoring goals, it's a really obvious thing to say, Ben, and we talked about on the end of the season podcast last week. I think the stat is that we've only conceded less, scored less goals in a season and stayed at once in our entire history. You need to put the ball in the back of the net, don't you?
Yeah, it's the most important thing, but it's such a hard job. Sorry, there's a player like if you could put the ball in the back of the net, right? You're a Premier League striker. Look at Jamie Vardy. That's the only thing he does.
Yeah.
The only thing he does. Put the ball in the back of the net. And look where it took Leicester. Like, you know what I mean? It's such a hard job to do. But we've got to do better than that. We've got to do better than we did this season. There's no excuse for this season. It is what it is, isn't it? Freddie needed to score a little bit more. I thought I think a few more needed to chip in, which they didn't. But it is what it is, isn't it? We just weren't.
We missed some howlers, haven't we?
Oh God!
Absolute howlers.
If we take half the chances that we had, sitters that we had with Steve Conklin, I mean, look at expected goals. We're at 11, so it's unreal. Just annoying, man.
Yeah. Freddie did score in February, in March. One of the highlight. It's not one of the highlights. The highlight of the season. And live on telly, live on Sky. It was a roller coaster of a game against Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough, Mick. 1-0 up from Smithy. Flojo having a fantastic first half. And Darren Bond, Mr. Bond, weren't it? Who,
yes, it was. Yeah.
Got a bit keen, trigger happy with his red card, sent Michael Smith off, and then the game looked gone. Second time, well, more than second time this season, but a red card happens, and then we're in trouble, and we were in trouble after the red card, weren't we?
Yeah, we were, without a doubt, because it gave Wednesday a little bit of belief that I think they always knew that they could never beat us with 11 men. I think they were absolutely confident of that. They just knew because they weren't good enough. But I think that sort of added bonus of us being down to 10 gave them a bit of a lift, and they managed to nick a goal, which was a foul. It shouldn't have stood, but then the referee's Darren Bond. So what do you expect? You aren't going to get it. You aren't going to get anything off him because he's a clown, an absolute clown. And to be fair, the sending off of Michael Smith, not only did that change that game, but in my view, I genuinely believe that changed the subsequent Middlesbrough home game as well. That sending off, which we'll come on to. But yeah, I mean, Freddie, thank you. What 93, 94 minutes against your local rivals to grab a winner in that at that time of the game with Daniel when you're down to 10 men is just, it doesn't matter what the context of the game is. That is so special. That is so special. And that one will live long in the memory, no matter what the outcome was at the end of the season. Definitely.
Yeah. Freddie may end up leaving, Ben. This summer he may not, but if he end up leaving, he can go away and come back to Rotherham and have a free beer whenever he wants, can't he?
Yeah, I'm going to say no has to buy a drink in Rotherham again, does he?
Absolutely not after that. I mean, it was, and not only that, what a finish! What an absolute storming finish. So yeah, brilliant. Brilliant.
And it gave him confidence. And we'll talk about another COVID outbreak, but you could see after that game, Ben, Freddie it did improve his game, and it became, up until the last 3 or 4 games, it became undroppable.
Yeah, definitely. It was such a good finish. I mean, I'm glad I wasn't on the watch along because I would have made myself look like an idiot by screaming at him. But no,
I mean,
in a very negative way, shooting. But yeah, it went on to score quite a lot as well. I remember that was the way of the season where I kind of turned towards liking him. So yeah, it was very good after that game.
Yeah. And then we had another COVID outbreak, and I know the original COVID outbreak hurt us. This second one killed us big, didn't it? That's quite a poor choice of words, actually. But in terms of the season, it ended the season from a realistic point of view. For the amount of games we had to fit into such a short space of time, there was no way we could recover from a scheduling point of view after this second one.
No, 100%. And I mean, we got all the stick on social media from other teams about us trying to fix it and fix the season and blah 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 blah, and it just what I mean. It did like you say, it just ended the season right there because the volume of games, obviously, as it turned out that we had to play in such a short space of time after that is it's a crime.
According to certain people, it's absolutely a crime. It's a shame that Jurgen didn't have our back like he had Man U's back, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a major crime. It's not an important crime, like somebody in Premier League having to do it. But obviously, it's a crime. Nevertheless, if you could have burglary on one end and stealing a garden gnome out of a garden on other, we were garden gnome, weren't we? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it just screwed us over, didn't it?
Yeah, and after that enforced break, we only had 2 more wins. One was against Bristol City, who were garbage, probably the worst team we played this season. And then the game against QPR, which was the game before the Coventry game and the week of death. We a couple of late goals, 3 late goals, obviously, in that game. It was just that hope, Ben. After that QPR game, after we beat QPR and we're 3-1, we're thinking, you know what, we've got Coventry Birmingham coming. We've got a chance there, haven't we? And then swiftly brought back down to earth.
Through no fault of our own. I still stand by the fact that we should have got something out of them games.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. There's no excuse for it. That's the reason why we went down. Them 2 games, the sole reason, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the football gods weren't shining on us, were they, on those 2 games? They scored, both goals came off one of our defenders' faces. You know what I mean? For both games, in both 1-0 defeats. That just sums it up. That you can't even clear a ball with your own face. It was just. You're right, Ben. I agree with you. We should have got something from both those games because of the missed chances. But even if you miss those chances, you would hope that at some stage the luck's going to turn and you're not going to concede a goal off your own backside or your own nose or whatever. You know what I mean? And it just didn't happen, did it? The Birmingham one really stuffed me. It really did because it's going out for a corner. The bloke's appealing for a corner, and it deflects off somebody's face and straight into the back of that. It's just, oh man alive. But yeah, you're right. They did kill us them too that week, definitely, or certainly, almost did.
Well, yeah, we got the Coventry Birmingham game in the injustices, if you want to call it, which we'll call that, against Middlesbrough at home and Barnsley away. But on a footballing point, Ben, the Wickham game, Wickham at home on I think Easter Monday, so they're around Easter. Games like that cost us as well because we were dog awful against Wickham. We lost 3-0 to Wickham, and you know what? We deserve to lose 3-0 against Wickham, and that's a very, very bad thing.
Yeah, how we were still in it the last game of the season baffles me till it's still now because we were so bad. We were crap that last month. One of the worst runs of games I've seen for a long time. One of the worst runs of performances in important games that I've seen in a long time. Like I said, we deserved it. Straight up, there's nothing else you can say. We deserved it. We deserved to lose Coventry game. We deserved to lose Birmingham game, in my opinion. And we deserve to go down, in my opinion.
Okay. And then it ends. The season ends with 3-3. We are technically end the season unbeaten. Three draws in a row. We've got a few stats to finish on in a minute, but the kick in the stomach, it took me a couple of days to recover from the Cardiff game and Paul Ward's interview post-match as well.
Yeah.
We're sat, is it a week later now? A week and a bit later. What are your thoughts on the day, looking back now?
I don't feel as bad as I did. I think our season was wrapped up before that last Saturday, unfortunately. So I've got my own views on what was the final nail in the coffin, and I genuinely don't believe that it was the Cardiff game that was. I'm quite optimistic, if I'm honest with you. You know, we're used to the situation now. Yeah, we had an opportunity to remain in Championship, and we're probably we're good enough to do so. Unfortunately, it was decided that that's not going to happen. So we move on. We go back down. We regroup. Hopefully, we're going to be strong enough to be challenging again next season. If we're not, we're not. That's how it is. I'm reasonably. I'm quite all right about it now. I'm not ready to sort of end my association with football with Rotherham United and football in general. Not by any stretch. We just move on. Let's move on. That's my view. That's how I feel.
Fair enough. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go through some stats for the overall season, and then we're going to have a quick 5 minutes on next season, briefly, before we end. So we're going to have a little bit of a quiz for you two now, and for everybody at home. I'm going to give you some stats for some players, and then you're going to tell me who you think the winner of the stats is. Who? You'll make sense. So first one is which player was involved in the most amount of goals this season, i.e. scored and assisted?
I think we know that.
Just shout in.
It's Freddie, isn't it?
Smith.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. I'll take that point.
10 scored, 3 assisted, involved in 13 goals altogether.
Thank you.
Which player has played the most amount of minutes this season? I was a little surprised in this one.
Where's Harding?
No, wait, Richard Wood.
Incorrect. Michael Ehekwe.
Okay.
He played 3,988 minutes this season. Wes Harding played in the most amount of games, but he started as sub and came off as sub. He had the most amount of minutes.
I think he played all those minutes in 1 week, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Opposite to that, who's played the fewest amount of minutes this season?
Claudio.
Sadly.
Trevor Clark.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
Who has the most amount of yellow cards this season?
Icky.
Ben?
Lindsay.
Icky with 12.
Icky.
Come on.
Just Trevor Clark, sorry, he played according to, so these are all stats all according to Transfer Market. So if anything wrong, take it up with them. Trevor Clark has apparently played 224 minutes this season, which is the fewest. I know. So which player for Rotherham had the highest points per game ratio this season?
Crooks.
Sean McDonald.
No. Very, very surprising.
Blackman.
Clark Robertson.
Yeah.
1.19 points per game when he's played for us this season, Clark Robertson. And which two players have the joint lowest points per game for us this season?
Harding. Nicky.
Harding?
Nicky.
No.
Trevor Clark.
No.
Okay. No,
Blackman and Lindsay.
I'll just tell you, you can't just name the entire squad. This is getting silly now. Mikael Miller and Flojo joint. They've got a 0.56 points per game for those two.
Jesus.
Which is not very good. I was really surprised that Flojo were that low down.
Yeah.
On it, but This one's an easy one. Very easy one. Which player has been subbed on the most amount of times?
Hurst.
And final one. Which player has been subbed off the most this season? I think this is surprising.
That's a difficult one.
You don't look at strikers. For me, I would normally go a striker.
Yeah.
But it's not a striker.
Ben Wiles.
No.
Where's Harding?
Lindsay.
Jimmy Lindsay.
Yes. Oh, I'll take that quiz. Thank you.
And the last stat is there's been 5 red cards this season, but all the individuals are Crooks, McDonald, Richard Wood, Mikel Miller, who had 2 yellows, and Michael Smith also had a red, but that was later rescinded. So yeah, interesting stats there. I was particularly interested in the Flojo one. Very surprised on the Flojo one.
And Smithy needs to he owes Crooksy one for that rescinded red card, doesn't he? Because he caused Crooks' red card. So,
well, it's certainly, I think he caused it not his Crooks' red card not to be rescinded.
I think he caused a red card. I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that that Bond has been looking to send somebody off for that game because of the issues he had in Wednesday game. I believe that's how petty they are. I genuinely do. So, I mean, I don't know whether are you going to go into high points and low points?
Yes, high points and low points. You give me your high point, Michael, while I get some Facebook comments over there. A couple of comments in.
Yeah, I think the high point's got to be that game against Everton. I think from a performance point of view and the outcome of the game as well, which was, whilst it was a defeat, was what was needed under the circumstances after COVID. For me, that was probably the high point of the season. So yeah, definitely, I'm going with that. Everton away.
Fair enough. Low point, other than the obvious.
The low point was 2 minutes into the game at Oakwell. For me, that was in my head. For me, that was the incident that sent us down. That was the final nail in the coffin. Yeah, there's been a lot of other nails put in the coffin by ourselves and everything else. But that performance by Gavin Ward, I genuinely, I've never seen that in 50 odd years of watching football. I have never seen anything like that. And I hope to God I never ever see it again. I genuinely do.
Just wait till we get promoted again.
I'm still not over that. Honestly and truthfully, hand on heart, I'm still not over that. It's the most outrageous decision I have ever seen. And I genuinely hope that man is out of a job for sooner rather than later as far as football refereeing is concerned, because he absolutely does not deserve to be running around on a football field at any level. That was outrageous. And for me, that was the lowest point of the season, because at that point I knew in my head, in my heart of hearts, that we were going down. So...
Yeah. On Twitter, Alfie agrees with you, Mick, about the performance against Everton as a high point. Although it's obviously lost, there are some very strong positives to take out of that. And David Scurrins on Facebook says that winning at Middlesbrough has to be one of the highlights, plus the wins at Preston and at Bristol City as well. Can't disagree with him. I'm going to go. Well, Sheffield Wednesday wins have got to be the high points, just because of the lateness of the second one. That's certainly up there. And the Birmingham game were tough. Birmingham Wickham game for me were particularly tough to take. The Birmingham one was when it was not confirmed, obviously, but when it was going to be very difficult to come back from it, which obviously proved to be the case. Ben?
High point Everton game. Low point just after Cooks got sent off. For me.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You just played 5 games in 9 days, something like that, and then you're 1-0 up, you're on top of the game, and then somebody gets sent off for clashing heads with somebody.
It's not the decision that why it's a low point for me. It's just what happened. It was a red card. Yeah, it wasn't the decision that caused a low point for me. I just want to make that very clear.
I'm going to add another low point in, and that's every time that Ben either burps, chomps, squashes a bottle on this podcast this season.
The thing is, if I burp, I get very bad indigestion. I'm sorry.
Most people will know this. There is a mute button.
Yeah, there is.
So apologies, everybody. Next season, we're back in the studio, hopefully. Yeah. So Ben will be scolded more often for his behaviour. I think because you're recording in your bedroom, but I think it's very easy for you to get distracted from what we're meant to be doing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I haven't got ADHD, so it shouldn't be that.
Have you ever been tested?
No, I
Did your mother have you tested?
No, I've definitely not got ADHD. 100%.
Okay, I'll take your word for it, mate. A couple of minutes on next season and where we see it going. There's already reports as we're recording on the 16th of May. Strong reports at the minute that Michael Smith will be on his way to be the most typical Neil Warnock signing of the summer to go to Middlesbrough. Reports of somewhere between 1 million and 1.5 million is the rumoured about. I imagine there'll be add-ons or selling clauses or whatever, as there always is with us. Matt Crooks will probably go somewhere. If we can keep hold of him, fantastic news. But I imagine somebody will come in with some reasonable money. Out of them two, Mick, and I love Crooksy, and he's done fantastic for us. I think he deserves another chance at the Championship.
Yeah,
but I think Michael Smith is more difficult to replace than Crooksy.
I'm not bothered because let's be fair, we will replace him. We will replace them sooner or later. Neither of these two players are irreplaceable. If both of those two go for £1 million plus, that is unbelievable business in my view. I genuinely
want more than
believe
$1 million
that.
for Crooksy.
Much more for Crooksy. Yeah, whatever. I mean, they're not going to go for less than $1 million. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's fantastic business when you consider what we've brought them in for. I don't know what we paid for Crooksy. I'm sure Smithy were free.
$200,000, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. That's just, you know what I mean? We need a black and white shirt and a mask on, don't we? Running away with money for them. Well, we do, but that's what this club has to be about. That's what we have to be about, and that's what, in my view, people should recognise as supporters. That we may have a few seasons of this. But as soon as we start to get a reputation for bringing players through and developing them into solid Championship players, which both of those could be, there's no doubt about that. I don't think they're the finished article, but they could be. Then we're going to be able to command higher prices and so on and so forth, and then we become self-sustaining, and that's what it's about. So I wouldn't be sad to lose either of them. I would go with my best wishes, and hopefully they can make a name for themselves in Championship. Whether they are capable of doing that in long term is another matter, but that wouldn't be our problem if we were to sell them, would it?
No. Ben, on the Smith one appears to be one that's moving quicker than the Crooks one. Again, we're assuming all these reports are correct, which I think there's with a reasonable chance there is. It'd be same as Mick. It'd be very disappointing if they do leave. From one hand. On the second and third hand, second hand, I think they both deserve another shot. And from the third point of view is that we're going to hopefully make, as long as we're not giving Crooksy away for nothing, I don't mind. If we get £2-3 million for Crooksy plus some add-ons, I think that's potentially a good deal.
I think it's an amazing deal, given what we paid for him. I mean, how many people have you seen buy players and lose? Outside of Brentford. I don't know any other clubs doing what we're doing.
No.
And look where Brentford are. Where Brentford were 5-6 years ago. The exact position we were in. Well, not exact year, but I remember being in League One with them.
Yeah.
When we got promoted, they went up with Wolves. I remember that clearly. Yeah. And look at the players they've got now. Tony. Look at the players they've had. Ben Rama. Watkins. Look at the
Mopai.
Yeah, I mean, Ollie Watkins, not Sammy Watkins. If anyone knows who Sammy Watkins is, then...
is he an American footballer?
Yeah.
No, I'm shocked.
Is Mopai that clown that plays at Brighton?
Yeah, but we got sent off the other day, which was amazing. But listen, I'm more than happy doing what we're doing. If we get more than 2 million for Crooks, amazing. More than $1 million for Smith, amazing. And, I said, send them off with best wishes. And, you know what I mean?
There's always a chance that Freddie might go as well. If Freddie ends up going, that'll be a couple of million as well. If that happens, Freddie's one of them. If he's going, ask for that money. Got to ask for that money.
Ask for it, but if I paid for that, I could pay that for him.
Fine. For League One, we were talking about this the other day with somebody else, that League One used to be a lot of players who spent a lot of time in League One and knew how to put the ball in the back of the net. That's not really the case anymore, because what you get is Jonathan Clark-Harris has a good season. He's now in the Championship. Ivan Toney had one good season in League One. He went to the Championship. You've got Jerry Yates, who has scored whatever goals this season. He's going to move to the Championship next season no matter what, after one good season in League One. So you don't necessarily have these recognised, steady League One strikers like they used to, even 5 years ago. So to keep somebody like Freddie, who we all know can score goals in League One, would be quite a good bit of business, because who else are you going to go out and get? There isn't anybody that's going to go. There isn't like an Alfie. We know when we were in League Two, we went and got Alfie because he scored lots of goals for Rochdale. Ryan Lowe was another one for Bury who scored a lot of goals, so you could just go get him. There isn't really that anymore in League One. Maybe there is in League Two, but there's not anybody who's got regularly 20+ goals in League One, because they just get picked by somebody at Championship, don't they?
Yeah. I suppose.
I
suppose.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Strong rumours that Clark Robertson will be on his bike to Aberdeen, probably. Again, I don't mind that. Good player, Clark Robertson, but he's injured all the time, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. I have full confidence in the club, in the recruitment side of the club, and in Warney and company to get us in a decent position for League One. It's going to be a tough year. It's going to be a really tough season. I would argue it's probably going to be a tougher season than the one we just had, in terms of the teams that we play. It wasn't the teams that we played that sent us down. It was us and the circumstances surrounding the games that we played that sent us down, or our inadequacies.
Yeah, well. So we're going to end it there. Thank you all for listening. When you watch on YouTube, we very much appreciate it. Don't forget to check out newyorktalk.co.uk. There's plenty of stuff on there. If it isn't there already, it'll be there very, very soon for you to look at some season reviews from some new people who are going to be doing that there. We will be back probably next Monday with our end of season awards show, which will hopefully be much happier than this episode has been. So we'll probably put that out to Twitter for some suggestions, and then we might decide, or we may put some polls out one way or another. You'll see on the social media to do that. So thank you all. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and everything like that they always ask you to do. Ben, it's been something, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mick, thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
And thank you all for listening, watching, getting involved. And thank you all for being with us this season. And we will see you all pretty soon. Thank you very much.